Have you ever been abandoned? Well, I was abandoned when we sold everything, bought our sailboat, went sailing. Captain decided he was done. Done with sailing, done with me, done. He abandoned me in the Caribbean. And I thought at that moment, do I want to be a victim and call my 7 kids and go, your dad just jumped ship and left me here? No, I wanted to decide, first of all, who I was going to be before I decided what I was going to do.
How about we start with our song?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
This is my life.
I believe in my dream.
The thing that I know about you, Mernali, is that you have competed in bodybuilding championships. You ride a heavy motorbike. You have raised 7 kids
and 3 in heaven. So, that's 10 pregnancies. But yes, 7 on this earth and 3 in heaven. Praise God.
Okay. And you have lived on a boat in the middle of the ocean. You have swum with the dolphins. Tell me a bit about all these adventures. Some of these things sound so magical. It's out of the experience of people. Like, I've never done many of these things. So tell me a bit about those adventures and how have they shaped you to be who you are today?
Thank you for that question, because you know what comes up? All those adventures, motorbike ridings, skydiving, sailing in the ocean, competing on the stage, having had 7 kids, being pregnant and or nursing for 15 solid years, all those things are motivated by adventures. But what preceded it was turmoil, was grief, was a shattered life in many ways. And so, I had hit the bottom before all those adventures. How I had the boldness, the drive perhaps, or just the deep desire for those came out of brokenness. And that's what comes to mind, because oftentimes, isn't that life? We kind of have to hit the bottom before we come up. So yes, those are amazing things. And yet I wasn't just born bold and brave and free. They came out of a lot of brokenness where I looked up and said, what would I love and how can I get there? So yes, I love the adventure. I love all that every day, honestly. My question to myself is, what can I do today that lights me up? And usually it's something kind of wild. I'm wild at heart. It's got to be fun for me. Not everyone's that way. And yet I'm grateful that I've raised 7 wild at heart kids, because we are full of adventure in life.
I love that.
So, I have my full schedule. I love my calendar. I'm, pretty disciplined. And yet I say, what can I do today that lights up my soul? Sometimes it's a simple thing as going for a walk around the block, just to kind of process. What can I do today that brings me joy? And how that came about is raising 7 kids, bringing 7 little kids to the table. Well, my husband, he was raised with an alcoholic background in his family, and he couldn't stand noise. Well, can you imagine? Even if someone dropped a spoon, he'd freak. So I had to keep everybody quiet. And I found a way. I set the timer for 5 minutes, and as they all came, they had to be absolutely quiet for 5 solid minutes. It brought peace to me, and when the timer went, we'd go around the table and we'd say, starting with the eldest, okay, what did they love about their day at school and what did they not prefer? We weren't allowed to say don't like or hate. And the greatest thing I came away with learning this about each and every one of our kids and myself is, you'd say, what did I love about today? And it would surprise you. You go, oh, you know what? It was just taking a walk or laying in the grass with just listening to the birds. And it taught me to say, oh, that's really neat. I would have thought it was something else in the day and say, okay, let's do more of that. So it taught me, let's do more of that, because it feeds our soul. Life is so busy, raising kids, homeschooling, diapers, businesses. And yet you come up for air and you take a moment and say, what was the best part of the day? Maybe holding your husband's hand as you just went for a walk in the silence. So then you say, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize. So let's do more of that. That's how that came about.
Wow. I love everything that you shared. There's so many beautiful moments that you shared there. The kids staying quiet, that in the stillness and the quietness, there's so much wisdom that comes in, and even kids can connect to that. And the simple joys of life and how asking the right questions can connect you to what's really keeping you alight and in your spark. So who were the women in your life that you looked up to along the way? Who are the women that maybe you see yourself reflected in them, in their lives, Or perhaps you pieced those women together, but you also had to become a woman that you never found anywhere else.
Thank you for that. The first, of course, comes to mind is my mother. She's 90. She's a wild woman. And I had the privilege with this business to fly all over. I had the time to be with her. She has taught me and modeled so well the life almost of a Proverbs 31. That's a biblical thing, but really what it shows is strength. It shows wisdom. And, you know, raising our 7 kids, I didn't have a clue what to do. I listened to the wisdom of the grandmothers of my mom. And I'm a good student. I mean, I was a bit of a rebel and a wild woman at heart. Absolutely, no doubt. However, I am teachable and at that certain stage. And my mom would say, Myrna Lee, this is what you do. And I would do it. Okay, when your baby's doing this, you do that. We never had a terrible 2. They were a terrific 2. She taught me the value of reframing and the value and power of our words. So you go into it understanding that you're going to frame your entire life by the power of our words. So they were terrific 2s. And my raising our family, it was shifted because I listened to her. I sought out the community of seniors, having worked with seniors all my life as well, that there was such wisdom. One of my great mentors would be Mary Morrissey, absolutely, Terry Savoy, and Joan Hunter, and Katie Souza. There's so many women that I listen to daily, but have really shaped me to rise up, to realize, you know what, we are called for more. And all those women have shaped my life, but mostly my mama, you know. And right now it's a great learning curve yet again. When she's 90, I'm 65. How do we navigate this new relationship? Every day I'm learning again how to give grace, how to receive grace, how to love, and how to be quiet. And how to go for a walk when I'm going nuts, right? So she continues to pour into my life great advice and great fruit, and just modeling a life that I really admire.
There's so much wisdom in the lived experience of mothers and grandmothers. And I'm so glad that you have strong women who are role models that you look up to, and as you create your own life. And at any age, there's always a woman that's there to show us what's possible. So you mentioned Mary Morrissey, and that brings me to my next question. Mary has said that the content of our lives is the curriculum of our evolution. And so when you look at your life right now, what is the adversity that catapulted you into this place of standing in your own strength and power and becoming a brave thinking life mastery consultant and dream builder coach?
You know, my entire life is my curriculum to where I'm at. Have you ever been abandoned? Well, I was abandoned when we sold everything, bought our sailboat, went sailing. Captain decided he was done with sailing, done with me, done. And he literally jumped ship. This was before I got into training with Mary Morrissey and became a life mastery consultant and coach. He abandoned me in the Caribbean. And I thought at that moment, I'm like, do I want to be a victim and call my 7 kids and go, Captain, your dad just jumped ship and left me here? No, I wanted to decide, first of all, who I was going to be before I decided what I was going to do. After all these years, I wanted to rise up and be the courageous woman that I was. So in that moment, although there was this massive storm, I was by myself. I was kind of freaked out, and I pray. I'm a girl of faith. So I prayed and I said, God, what's next? And I heard the still small voice say, coach. I went, not scream, not cry, not collapse, coach. And I realized, yes, that's awesome. But the second I heard that, I'm like, well, I'm on a boat by myself. I have no support, no money, no Wi-Fi. And yet I made the decision. I got in that little dinghy called Bob, and I started it up and went to shore. And I got Wi-Fi, and I started looking online. Never forget sitting on this little tall stool in the middle of the Caribbean on a sandy beach bar, and just thinking, okay. And I was studying, looking, researching, and I came across Mary Morrissey. Having gone in a 5-day class, I realized at the end of that, this is the program for me. This was the calling that God had said, coach. And I enrolled. And for the next 2 years, even whilst at sea, I trained, I studied, I still had no Wi-Fi, I still didn't have the money. I still found a way. I found a way, and I knew in my heart that I had to let my dream win over all the excuses and all the fear that was going to rise up. So I did it. And, you know, I think of all the things that could have stopped me. And yet when I heard in that dark, sacred night, God whisper, coach, I knew that's my destiny. That's my calling. That lit me up. Rather than focusing, being alone on a boat, you know, being abandoned, what was I going to do? And life opened up. The doors opened up. So yeah, it's a pretty dramatic story.
It is. And it's a beautiful story of one woman's strength and perseverance and courage. And that when you knock on doors, doors open for you, as well as the power of prayer and asking questions of God. When you're all alone, you're never really alone, I guess.
Well, and isn't that true? And I know Matthew 7:7 says, ask and it'll be given, seek and you will find, or you have not because you ask not. I mean, so many of the principles that we've learned and I know as a coach are biblically based. We have not because we ask not. And yet the fact is God put those questions in our soul. When we're brave enough, it does take brave thinking that we can be courageous and ask the question, because it's not always comfortable. And we're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable because we want to grow. We don't want to be an old potato sitting on the couch like that. That's just not acceptable.
Oh, I love that. And, you know, I think since we've been talking about boats, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to ask uncomfortable questions. We want to be the person that's, you know, keeping everything and everybody comfortable. But growth doesn't come from comfort.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
So out of all the things that you've experienced, what's a dream achieved that you wouldn't trade in for anything? What is a moment in your life that you wouldn't trade in no matter what?
I'm so grateful. I'm 65. I have so many dream achieved moments, but here's one that really stands out. It was Valentine's Day. We had been married 17 years. We had 7 children. My husband came in with a beautiful bouquet of roses and he said, I want a divorce. I was shocked. I hadn't ever come up for air. So to hear that, I was so in the thick of raising kids and homeschooling and donkeys and chickens and horses and life, full life serving. And when he said, I want a divorce, you can imagine my whole life was shattered. The next day, my trainer called and said, Myrtle, she didn't know about what just happened the day before. She said, would you be willing to train and compete on stage in a fitness competition? And I said, yes, absolutely. I had no idea of the time, the money, the efforts, the commitment. I had no idea and how to count the cost. And it's a good thing I didn't know because I wouldn't have done it. It was 2 years of my life that I poured into, and I didn't have the money. I didn't have the resources. I'm raising 7 kids, working part-time at that point and on my own. So I did the training. I did all that despite my shattered life. And I actually came in 5th. I was 45 years old. The hall where I competed, the rec center where I competed, was full of all 7 kids. The noise and the celebration of them standing up and going, way to go, Mom, because they had watched. They watched our lives and our marriage like this. They were all there to support. So that is a dream achieved moment in the midst of heartbreak, in the midst of a shattered life, in the midst of not having support, not feeling enough. I did it. And we've all done time, but that is a dream achieved moment and you know what's kind of amazing is why it motivated me is I was pregnant and or nursing for 15 solid years because I nursed each baby till they were around 20 months. So literally the math is 15 solid years, pregnant nursing. I said, what would it take to get on stage? Now you think maybe the training was the hardest. It wasn't. You know what the hardest part was? It was wearing a bikini. I had never worn a bikini in my life. I was pregnant all those amazing youthful years. Always a maternity bathing suit. We called water suits, a bathing water suit. And the challenge was 5-inch stiletto heels. I mean, we were a modest family living in the bush, raising kids and riding motorcycles and snowmobiles and hiking and flying out of planes. Like makeup, high heels, bikini. And the beauty was when I came in 5th, they still gave me the 5th, but I was center stage. So I felt like I was number 1. And in my mind, I was, so, and it was out of about 38 women. So that is a pretty cool dream achieved moment for me. Thank you for asking. I love remembering it. That gives me courage. If I could do that, then what came later in my life when I was abandoned on the sailboat, I'm like, no problem. I mean, I can't say no problem. However, I have lived through a life of adversity and rising up and rising up and rising up.
What a beautiful story. So last question for you. When your kids, your grandkids, and other women, especially your daughters, speak of you, remember you, what would you love for them to say about you?
Well, the word that comes to mind, which doesn't often come, but I would say unstoppable. When I hear what we've been talking about, I get goosebumps thinking about that right now. I realize that is the truth. Sometimes we put that in songs and it all sounds, but truly it is that. Unstoppable. And I guess that's the word that came to mind. And that reminds me to always keep my eye on the goal, to continue forward, to be unstoppable. I mean, the first word that came to me was wild at heart. They're going to go, Mom, are you kidding? She's a wild woman.
I love that. Wild at heart. I had a wonderful time listening to your stories, and it's a marvelous life that you have led. And I can't wait to see all the wonderful things that you do and the places you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.